Welcome to Punch Keys Podcast. I'm Poppy Minix, your co-host, bringing you blunt talk for the fiction novelist.
And I'm Cass K, your other writerly co-host. If you love to ramble about writing and need a tribe, you found us.
Are you ready? We're uncorking now. Let's talk about punching those keys.
Welcome to Punch Keys, Episode 1. You have found us. We are a writing podcast that is offering writer support to help you keep punching those keys. Hence the name Punch Keys. I know, we're super clever.
Clever.
So clever. I am Cass K, and I am here with Poppy Minix. I guess we'll each introduce ourselves a little bit so you know who's talking at you and you know whose conversation you're eavesdropping on, because that's basically what's going to happen. You're going to hear us babble about all these different writer topics. I will let Poppy go first.
Hello, friends. I am Poppy Minix. I'm a writer of paranormal romance, contemporary romance, sci-fi romance. I've tried to write otherwise, and romance just keeps injecting itself into my life, so I'm going with it.
She's really, really good at it. I like to refer to her as the love doctor. She's magical at finding the perfect pairings for characters. It's just magical.
Oh, that's kind. It's fun. I really enjoy it. I've been writing for about 4 years and published and have some more publications coming up. Very excited about it. So everything's sort of working itself down the funnel. Things are happening. I'm pretty excited about it. And I met Cass about a year ago.
I think it's been over a year.
Gosh, that's been over a year, hasn't it? In a writing group, which was fantastic. And we have been talking nonstop about writing ever since. So we thought we'd bring our conversations to you. So it's going to be... Yay! It's going to be a very loose, blunt conversation around a table with wine and sometimes vodka and whatever we feel like talking about. We're just going to do it. And you are here with us.
Yes, I pretty much always use podcast night as an excuse to drink wine. We've established podcast night for some time now. It's been Zoom chat with the bestie as we are living amidst COVID and
we're on other sides of the United States. So.
Yeah, so that's how we do it. So my name's Cass K. I have been writing for, 28 years.
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. I love that. I love to hear when people do that.
I haven't been novel writing for that long. I got into journalism. I went to college for journalism, dabbled in creative writing, dabbled in script writing. I did a lot of stage acting, a little bit of stage directing and writing and that stuff too, but I really loved the acting on stage. And then I kind of slipped away, so I shouldn't say I've been writing for 28 years, because there's probably like a good 10 years where I did nothing but try to figure out who I was as an idiot 20-year-old. So... You know,
happens.
There's that gap. And then when I came back, it was novel writing. I write dark fantasy for the most part. Tends to be urban fantasy. Tends to have horror elements. I love dabbling into my horror. I tend to have a little bit of a romance thread in there, but it's not usually the main story. I love me some fantasy. I've got a lot of witches and fae and anything you can think of I'll throw in there. Why not? I love it all.
And it is beautifully terrifying, and I love it.
So that's us. If you want to see a more professional layout of who we are, check out the website, punchkeys.com. There'll be bios. We've got some book recommendations for you guys. We have some books that we cross over some genres, and then Poppy's a little heavier in romance reads, and I'm going to be a little bit heavier in fantasy reads. But we cross the lines all the time. We'll read books together sometimes.
Yeah, we genre jump. I read some literary stuff sometimes. You read some horror, which I will not read very often. Some of the deeper horror I love. We both adore urban fantasy.
So good.
Man. And we both have some really good nonfiction stuff that we read together sometimes or just talk about together.
So make sure you check that out too. Check out our book recommendations. I think we've got our links to like Goodreads and BookBub and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
So you will be able to find us because we're everywhere. Apparently, we've decided that's the way we're doing this.
Yes.
Everywhere. So
everywhere.
Today we wanted to talk to you guys as our very first episode about finding your writer tribe and writer friends. Poppy had kind of talked about how we met online in a writing community, I think, which is huge in the world right now with everything going on with COVID. I think everyone's doing everything in online communities. It's going to be interesting to see how the world changes when COVID one day is handled. One day. So writer communities are great. I've been on the writer community that Poppy and I met. I think I had been on that one for like a good 4 or 5 years before I met Poppy. And it's really great. Writer communities are good because, let's face it, writing's really lonely, right?
Yeah.
You write stuff, you get going, and then you're super excited to show people, and usually you'll show like your friends and family. And usually, I mean, your friends and family don't want to be mean to you, so it doesn't matter
they
how.
love and support you. Well, some of them do. A lot of people love and support you, and they're just gonna love you no matter what you do, which is absolutely fantastic. And you totally need that in your life. But you also need other people.
Yes, you need other people who aren't as concerned about if you're going to talk to them at the next holiday dinner or not. People who are in the business doing it. People who are at different levels and different experience who can give you that feedback. I'm not going to lie, if you haven't done that yet and you go out and do it, it hurts.
It can.
It hurts.
And there can be some good moments. There can be some super bad moments. There can be some incredibly helpful moments and some where you're like, what are you thinking? It's a whole nother world out there, but you are among other writers. And that's the super cool part about being in a writer community.
It is. And being amongst other writers, they just get stuff that non-writers don't get.
Yeah.
They get when your brain is completely non-functional because all you can think about is whatever character is talking to you or whatever storyline or world you're building. They get when you don't want to like go out and socialize. You just want to stay home and write.
Yeah.
They get that.
They get that completely.
And then when you get stuck and you're like, I don't know how to fix my dialogue in this scene. I don't know how to transition from this scene to this scene. You get to talk about it with your writer friends. And instead of just nodding and having their eyes glaze over, they actually will probably come back with ideas to help you.
Yeah.
Suggestions on what to do, excited over different aspects you have going in the story to encourage you. It's like you're not talking in the void anymore. All of a sudden there's like pull.
Oh, it's the best. I love when you can talk to people and they know what you're talking about. And then you start talking about plotting and you start learning about world building and everything else that goes along with this writing thing. And it's just fantastic. And then you get in a horrible, down, awful moment. And then you have a couple other people who are like, oh, that was me last week. You're going to come out of it. It's going to be okay. And you believe them because you know what? They're writers and they've been through this too. They're not going to be like, oh, you know what? You should just quit. Oh, if it's going to hurt you, then no. You know, they're not going to say that. They're going to be like, psh, you got this. Because you do.
You do.
You're going to go through bad moments. Writing is not always easy. Sometimes it's incredibly easy. And then sometimes you just want to rip your hair out and throw your computer out the window.
And they're always like back to back. It's like you have a
Gosh,
night
they
where
are.
it's like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And the next morning it's like, I'm deleting everything.
Yes, I just broke my entire system because I put in this super cool scene and everything just fell apart. And it's like, yeah, that totally happens. Your writer people are going to be like, oh, dude, I hate it when that happens. You're going to get it. It's going to be fine.
But I will say not all writers are equal. So
That's
when
true.
you're going out to find your writer tribe, it's not finding anyone who writes. Oh, instantly. Okay, we're a tribe now. No. There is just like every other thing in the world. There's different types. There's different genre writers, people who focus on different things. There are people in writing communities who actually aren't really that interested in writing. They're just there for the socializing.
Yeah.
There's some people who write short stories, some people who write novels, some people who despise description of any sort.
Yes.
And so some people who love it, and it's
some who will completely dismiss everything that you need editorially because, well, it's just your style, but you're doing it wrong. I don't know. It's just nuts. So many opinions.
There's so many opinions, and sorting through whose opinion to take and who's not. It's hard. And so we'll get into that a little bit. We've got some episodes already done. Yes, we've done other episodes before episode 1. Episode has been really hard for us, okay? We have re-recorded this episode I don't know how many times now.
A lot.
It's hard, okay? Just give us a break. We're really trying with this
working
episode.
on it. It's going to be fine.
But we do, episode 2, we hit writer blues, and episode 3, we go over critiques. So all of that is coming up. But beyond critiques, your writer tribe is people who believe in you, that are other writers. They can offer constructive criticism. They can help you see the flaws and how to fix it and brainstorm with you, but they believe in you and they support you. And when you get done talking to them, you feel like you can do it. You want to go write more. And I know it probably sounds really dumb to have to say that, and that's what you're looking for in a writer tribe. But I've been in opposite situations where it wasn't that, and it was really slow. It took me forever to figure out it was a really unhealthy situation. But if you're talking to someone who makes you feel like you're a horrible writer, you're never going to go anywhere, there's no hope. Even if those aren't their words, but that's how you're feeling, it might not be your tribe.
No. And it's okay to walk away from that.
And it doesn't mean they're a bad person. It just means that the way they're communicating isn't one that works for you.
There are some I have noticed, especially receiving crits and talking to people and just being in forums in general, you have people who are very much, they're not trying to baby anybody. They want to tell you how it is, except they've never had like a positive experience. And so they are the first person ever to like tell you all the negative stuff that comes with publishing. And it's like, okay, when you're a beginner writer, dude, that hurts. Like that doesn't feel very good. And it can really turn you away. Like you can look at these communities, you can be like, ooh, oh, well, maybe I just shouldn't even try to publish. No. Like there's a whole world out there with publishing. Don't listen to the people who are going to tell you that it's never going to happen for you, because they're out there because it never happened for them, or they're just trying to tell you how it is. And they're trying to show you that like, don't get your hopes up. No, that's not, in my personal opinion, the way that things work. But you know what? For some people, maybe it does. So they can find their tribe where all of them stick together and they all can poo-poo all the things all day long. And it works for them. And that's cool. That does not work for me. Like I don't want to be around people who poo-poo every single thing about the industry, because it's not true. There's a whole lot of really awesome stuff that happens in the industry. And so it's finding the right people, like I found Cass.
Yay!
And I found we have this incredible writers group that we just hang with and we talk with every single day. We sprint with, we brainstorm with, we all know what's happening in each other's stories. We share lines as teasers, and oh my gosh, it is so much fun and incredible. And it has taken years to find that. So you have to start somewhere to find these amazing people, but they are out there. And when you get them, you just absolutely soar. It is so amazing to be able to be like, guys, I'm stuck. I'm stuck on a word. Oh my God. Why can't I think of a word that means running out of time, but not saying running out of time? And then all of a sudden you have 2 or 3 people pop in and be like, oh, synonyms. I love synonyms. And it's like, oh, I have it. Great. Thank you. Y'all the best. I love you guys. And it's just little stuff like that is like, oh, thank you. You know, it's like, I'm not alone in my brain. I'm not alone with this. It's great.
And Poppy mentioned too in that she was talking about sprinting. So sprinting is what happens is you set a timer, like a group of writers will set a timer together, and they all go and write during that period of time. And then they come back and they share a word count of how many words they got in. A lot of times the goal is to try and get as many words as you can. Other times maybe it's just editing, or it's like working out a scene. Some groups you share the last line that you typed. Some groups you'll share your favorite line in that section. But it's kind of fun because it keeps you checking in. Usually it's 20 or 30 minutes is how the average time for a sprint. And you are writing, but you know your writer friends are writing as well. And you're all going to check in with each other in 20, 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to cheer each other on with your lines. And then you're going to jump back in and do another 20, 30 minutes. And it takes away that doing it on your own feeling, which
it does.
I don't know. I guess some people might like the doing it on their own. I prefer the writing community and tribe.
I think it keeps you accountable. And I think that it's just so nice to feel like you're doing something with other people, even though you're all doing things that are vastly different. Cass writes horror and urban fantasy. I can write contemporary rom-com at the same time, and they are vastly different things. There's nothing that is similar very much about our stories, except we're writing together. And that's really just a great feeling to know that you're not completely alone in this world. So are we going to be doing sprints, Cass?
I am thinking we should. We've got a sprint mini series podcast that you can get if you go on the website. If you give your email over, we're not going to like give it to people. Your email is just so that we can tell you when something big and cool is coming up, because you want to know, right? So give us your email and you get some extra goodies on the website that you can't see without that. And one of them is the Sprint series, where it's a series of 7 minutes in heaven. I like to call it that, but it's just 7 minute little blurbs. It's basically encouraging thoughts, tips to keep you going, things to do if you're stuck. It's just little mind breaks in between your sprints.
It's in between your sprints so that you can sort of have something to think about and get your mind off of your work for a second and a half so that you can take a little breather and then jump back in with your new words. And so we'll probably be doing that. We might be hosting some sprints.
Yes,
potentially.
we are looking at doing that. Yes. So all of that information will be on the Sprint page. And then if you're in there, you might as well check out the Pep Talks as well. Mm-hmm. We've got a little page called Pep Talks with another mini series of when you're feeling poo-poo. And maybe you don't have your writer tribe, or maybe they're sleeping. You know what? You've got us. Come in and pick whatever topic it is, and we probably have a pep talk on it. Sometimes they're nice. Sometimes they're kick you in the butt. Sometimes they're a little spicy. It just depends how much we were drinking when we did that particular one.
It's true.
So it's a fun grab.
If it's bourbon night, you're probably going to get more of a boob punch than you are like a hug. So sorry about that.
Poppy bourbon is pretty fantastic. So that's a good thing. But yeah, so writer tribes, sprinting together, brainstorming together, especially to networking together as you get going further on, like all the social media platforms and the parties and all the things that you have to do as an author nowadays. It's really nice to have a little group that's in your corner cheering you on.
Yeah, it is. And sharing stuff, it's like, that can really give you a massive boost when you all start publishing. It can really give you a huge boost when you already have some reviews on your work. That's down the line if you're a starter writer. You guys can talk about how annoying it is, how long it takes. We do that pretty often.
Because it does. It takes forever. Every part of the industry takes forever.
It does. But you know what? We love it. And we're not going to stop writing. We hope you don't stop writing either, because it's just so enjoyable. And we need those beautiful works out into the world. We need more. We need more, because readers read everything. And we want all the good stuff and all the exciting ideas. And so it does take a long time, but when you do, if you're considering publishing, it's really nice to be able to have people behind you to knock ideas around for marketing and for what to do in publishing. And
I also think too, like knocking those thoughts around and checking those things out and learning about it bit by bit as you're progressing is really good. So I think it's like got to be hugely overwhelming if you wait to learn any of that or understand any of that until you're trying to publish.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much out there about how to do it. I mean, there's etiquette in how to query. There's different events to do, like with the Twitter pitmads. There's so many ways to pitch yourself out there and do it. And it's really cool to have a writer tribe who helps you with that and talks to you about that. There's this underlying thing that happens sometime in the writer industry where sometimes people like hoard information.
Yeah, it's like this competition, which is totally unnecessary in the writer world, in my opinion. You just don't need competition between you. People read.
Well, why do you think it's unnecessary?
Unnecessary to have competition. You could be competition. Okay, so be competitive with yourself. Be maybe competitive with your comps to see what they're doing. So there is a level of competition, which is cool, except don't make it into a negative. Don't make it into well, if they get published, that means I'm not going to get published. Or if they get an agent, that means I'm not going to get an agent. No, that's not true.
I totally don't think it's necessary either. It's not like there's 1 or 2 books per genre being published per year or even per month. Yeah. There's plenty of space out there for everyone. And it's not, if you share information, that's not going to stop you from progressing. You holding that information isn't going to make it harder on everyone else. It's more like people aren't going to share with you in return then. And so now you're missing out on all the jewels that they know.
That's true.
Because there's so many little tips and bits that people learn because we all take different paths and we're all learning from it and we're all messing up. and if we talk to each other. So in our group, Poppy's more of an indie published. We've got some self-published. We've got some that are looking for agent, traditional publish.
Yep.
We've had a couple that have had some agent experiences. And so it's a wealth of knowledge. Poppy and I were talking about this. We talk about this episode all the time because, it's episode 1 and we've recorded it a bazillion times.
It's always different. It's great.
Yes. And there was a really great metaphor that she used that I'm just going to keep bringing back. And I know
which I was not going to bring back because,
but it's so perfect. Okay. So we're both women. Obviously, surprise.
We're both moms.
Yep. We both have birthed children out of our bodies. And so there's this thing about when you get pregnant and you're going to have a kid, people, there's either they make it really super polite and nice and you're like walking with the angels and glowing, or they'll tell you like every horror story of everyone dying, right? Those are the two things that usually happen.
Right. It's the super secret stuff. It's like, oh my God, you're pregnant. That's great. You're going to have a 2-minute birth. The baby's going to pop out. It's going to be incredible. Like, good for you. That's all you need to know ever. It's not. There's like 1,000 crazy million different things that go from day 1 to 9 months later. And that's kind of like it is with publishing.
And it's the same thing. Like, I always think of, I'm sorry, I can't help it, but I always
think
about when you're like in the middle of childbirth, oftentimes like the woman will poop on the table at the same time. No one talks about that in birthing stories. I didn't even know about it until I read Jenny McCarthy's book. And I remember reading that being like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff that happens. It's kind of like that with writing as well.
And it's so nice to know though that if that happens, I'm not the super weirdo. Like, there are norms that people just don't talk about for whatever reason. And that's kind of what we want to do here on this podcast, is we want to talk about all those things in the writing industry that people hoard as information, or it's just not polite to talk about, or whatever the reason is. We just kind of want to bluntly talk about everything going on.
We do. Because if you either are writing your first book or you just wrote your first book, you can't just publish it. I know, yes, sure, you can just publish it. Anybody can publish it. That's great. But there are like 450 steps that you should go from finishing that last page on your very first draft to actually getting it out into the world. So we would like to talk about all those in-betweens that can be not so pretty, not so easy, sometimes super easy, sometimes easier than you thought, but those confusing moments in between that you just didn't know about. Because like when I started writing, I was like, oh my gosh, I have a scene. And I wrote the scene down, and then I was like, oh, I guess I'll keep writing just out of giggles here. And then I had a chapter, and then I had a backstory, and then I had a book, and then I had 2 books. So it just went that quickly, and it spiraled and went completely insane. And I'm sitting here with 2 books in my hand going, I'm going to publish. I'm going to publish these 2 books. This is great. Oh my gosh, I need to find out how to do that. How in the world do you I can just publish, right? Like I can just like hand this over to whatever and publish it. Okay, I'm going to do that. And then I went and started looking, and I'm exactly. Ha, 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 ha. All right. So, and then I go and look, and I'm like, oh, there's like a lot of stuff that you have to do to get this thing published. And then as I joined a writer community, and I'm like, cause I know nothing. And so I jumped into a writer community, and then I started studying, and I started learning, and I started doing stuff. So my first book that I wrote 4 years ago is still probably my favorite writing that I've done, but I haven't published it yet. I published other things in between because those were more solid, because the first book I wrote is a dumpster fire. Because when you write a first book, it's a dumpster fire. It's just...
It doesn't feel like it at the time. You're like on cloud 9, and it's a huge accomplishment. It's amazing.
Yes. And your friends read it, and they said it was fantastic.
Yeah, and then you're really, really stupid and young, and you let a little indie publishing company take it and publish it without editing it. And
what? Who would do that, Cass? Who would do that?
And then the first draft of your first novel ever is out there forever in the world. So, and then that high fades away, and you learn more, and you realize like, oh, the fact that I'm really bad with commas is not helping me in this scenario at all.
Yeah.
Oh, transitions. What are those? but it's already out there. So not when. We're here to help you with that type of stuff too.
We are so here to help you with that.
I will teach you everything I know through every failure I have had. And I've had so many of them. I have so much to teach. Not even teach, just share. Warning flags. I've got all the warning signs I'm going to stick up everywhere for you.
We are going to have some dirty laundry to air of our own so that you can learn, because you know what? We all need to share this stuff, and we will be your writer tribe until you find your writer tribe. And we hope that
or
will
forever
work
be us.
For you. Yes.
We're okay with that. You just
You're fine with us. Yes.
Punch Keys writer tribe.
Yes. The reason I love Cass so much is because I've found someone that is just as obsessed and enthusiastic as I am, and also has vastly different opinions than me sometimes. And it makes me think, because you can't just have somebody a sounding board. When you have your writer tribe and when you pull your people in, you'll find out that there are lots of opinions, and they shouldn't all be yours, because it's so cool when I'll be like, hey, this, blah, blah, blah. She'll be like, oh, that is not good. And I'm like, oh, wait, what? And I'm like, what? Why?
Oh, come on. I'm a little nice.
Oh, she's totally nice about it. Or, but I mean, we know each other like long enough now where you can be like, no. And I'll be like, what? And you'll be like, no, woman, no. What are you thinking? I'll be like, oh, why? And then you'll explain it and I'll go, oh, okay, whatever. That's valid. Shut up. And then we'll be good. And then I'll go and I'll look at it again and I'll think about it and I'll tweak it and all that good stuff. But like, you need somebody that's going to just be different.
Give like a really specific example of that. One of my favorites, because you get to know each other's weaknesses and faults.
Yes,
and you get to call each other out on it because you see patterns that they're doing. And Poppy's so good. I have a habit because I always have like a B or C line romance going on, but I always struggle with like how do you like make this come to fruition? And all the time I'll get a crit from Papa. She's like, you did it again. You set it all up. You had them all right there for this moment, and then you just bailed on it. They just walk away.
You bailed. And I'll be pissed, and I'll be like, get back here and finish that scene, damn it. I can't believe, what?
My character will like randomly get distracted by something all of a sudden instead, and
yeah.
So it's good. It's good to have someone who knows
it is
your flaws and how to help you improve. And, I can remind Poppy that it's okay to have like setting and surrounding around.
Yeah, instead of them walking around in like a white bubble. Yeah, it's good sometimes for that.
Yeah, it's good. So it's nice, and it's nice to have a writer tribe as someone who they can call you on that stuff, but they freaking love your story. They love your characters. They love your writing style. They're not trying to rewrite your story for you or tell you how to do it. No. They're just there to cheer you on and poke you in the places that, because let's face it, writing works that way with the story. It's not all just from the author. There should be so many other people's fingers in it as far as all the different types of editors who help you, who point out, oh, this is something that was never tied up or explained. Or, oh, I couldn't see this character. They didn't really have a voice that was strong enough to remember. All these little things, you never describe what so-and-so looks like. They're just a blob to me every time they walk in the screen. And so that stuff it's super helpful to hear, and it's awesome to hear it from people who believe in what you're doing and support you.
Yeah. And I can tell you, okay, so if you've stuck with us this far and you're a relatively new writer and you're absolutely freaking out at the fact that you might have to show other writers your work, we've been there. It's okay. And I swear it's going to get easier. It is super, 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 super hard to put your mind and your stories and your heart out on paper and then hand it over to someone who actually does this for judgment. And it can super, super, super hurt. And it can also be super, super awesome, because there's going to be things that you wrote that you didn't even know were good that people are going to latch onto, and they're going to give a completely different perspective than what you have. Would it be easier to just put your head in the sand and go and self-publish and not let anybody see your stuff until it's out in the world? Maybe.
Don't do it.
But don't do it. God, maybe, but don't do it. And I know that it's scary. And I totally understand that there's, this big, huge sign in your head, this neon sign flashing, plagiarism. And you're so afraid somebody's going to steal your stuff. Does that happen? Yeah, okay, maybe, but like it's never happened really to me. I mean, I've had
still exact words. They might still like
exactly
an idea
ideas.
or a character framework. And I mean, let's face it, most of the time our ideas and character frameworks are a twist from something else that we've seen.
There is a phrase out there that says there's nothing that has been written that hasn't been written before. It's all out there. There's stories to be told. Snow White has been told in 50,000 renditions. Like there's always a
telling
idea.
Your rendition, half of what makes it amazing is your voice and the way you do it.
Exactly. And nobody else can do that but you.
And if you're just starting out, I mean, I don't want to be a jerk, but I doubt you're at the level where someone's going to want to steal your stuff.
Yeah. And if they do, they're young as well. And they're, they're going along with it and they shouldn't do that. And it's wrong. But like the likelihood of it isn't very much. So if this has happened to you, I mean, I'm super sorry. That sucks. And it does hurt and things like that. But at the same time, the quality of having other writers to bounce stuff off completely overthrows any amount of somebody potentially stealing stuff. But go in and talk to people first. I mean, obviously don't just be like, hey, guess what? Here's my writing. Like you're going to want to go actually speak to people first and talk to them and get to know them and be in forums and ask them about their work too. And make sure that you're having conversations on your characters and ease in, stick your toe in the water. You don't have to just...
We want to build a relationship. It's basic common courtesy. You don't want to walk into a room and be like, okay, I'm going to tell you everything about myself. You be quiet, and then I'm going to have you tell me the feedback on all the information I gave you. And that's the end of our exchange, and then I'm going to go.
Which, by the way, totally happens in writer forums, and everybody who's been there before is like, nah. Okay, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, let's see how this goes. This is going to be good. Just wait. And then it just gets like... Because you just don't do that. You just do not do that. You are not good enough to be able to walk in and be like, everyone, here is my work and you shall love it. Tell me everything about it. I don't care about your stuff. Mine is better. No,
you gotta give them a reason to invest the time in you.
Yes.
And you have to make it so that there's a relationship and you guys know, oh, did you guys hear that clink? That's my favorite clink. That's Poppy's metal straw.
I am saving the turtles with my metal straw and drinking alcohol. So it's a beautiful day.
But no, it's... Gosh, I don't even know what I was just saying. What was I
I'm
saying?
sorry.
No, you're fine.
I totally got off track with the straw of deliciousness.
Alcohol's a good reason to get topic.
Yeah.
So don't worry so much about plagiarism. Get in there, introduce yourself. Don't just come in and think that everyone wants to read your stuff and help you and then not expect to help back. Make sure it's the right kind of help and the right kind of relationship. It's going to be really hard for you to help if you're a horror writer, like straight up horror, and you don't do any romance, to go and like make friends with... It's super weird that I'm using this example but I'm not straight up horror. I have romance threads. She has dark threads in her stuff.
I do.
So there's...
we have a link. There is a link.
There's a compatibility there. The things that I excel at, she feels like she's really good in a lot of them, but she feels like she's not as strong in those, and vice versa. Her strengths help me out so much, and I know my weaknesses, and can be like, hey, get over here and help me with my weakness over here.
Yeah. So
and
finding your genre people is good.
I say it just like that. So that's the polite way. Poppy, get your butt over here and help me.
Check.
That's how that goes.
And I say, aye.
But so make sure it's compatible. Make sure you both are able to offer information that's helpful to the other people's experience level, what type of information they do know. There's a lot of people out there who are writing with different backgrounds, different language experiences. You want to make sure it's a compatible relationship.
Yep.
And walking into the room and throwing all your stuff out is not the way to find that out.
Not so much.
Be more polite.
Yes.
Okay, so we hope you stuck with us for this first episode. This is basically going to be us talking about writerly things. We've told you episode 2 is about writer blues because we all get down.
Yeah.
3 is critiques.
Yes.
We have a challenge for you at the end of this episode. So going out and trying to find your writer tribe means you have to go out in the world and announce that you're a writer. Mm-hmm. So that's what we want you to do. Pick a social media platform, any of them, all of them, whatever you want to do, and scream from the rooftop that you're a writer. Mm-hmm. You can say what kind of writer you are. You can say any details you want. What time of day? I'm a horror writer every day at 6 p.m. Or I am a pencil doodler comedian. Whatever it is you are, go and shout it on your social media. Go ahead and hashtag us with Punch Keys, and we will do the same as well.
Yes.
And hashtag ourselves and put it out there so the world knows you're out there. And you can't find a writer tribe if you don't put yourself out there.
Absolutely true. And if you are writing, and if you have written a novel and you have done your stuff, and you are still not calling yourself a writer, guess what? You're totally a writer.
You're a writer because you say you're a writer.
Yes.
So, do that and then go punch the keys.
Yes.
That's what's going to keep you being a writer, is if you go down at the end of the day, no matter what happens, you keep punching the keys.
Get your work done. And if you have questions for future episodes or anything that you want to talk about with writing, be sure to send us a note and we will see what we can do.
You can contact us on our webpage. You can pretty much contact us on all of the major social media platforms. Just type in Punch Keys and we'll pop up all over. All right, go punch the keys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And if you liked this episode, please subscribe and give us that clickable 5-star love.
Got writer questions or feedback? Reach out through our website. And until next time, make sure to punch the keys.